Jeffrey Dahmer was an American serial killer who took the lives of 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. Jeffrey Dahmer was on his tear for more than 13 years and targeted mostly people of color and homosexuals. Targeted males between the ages of 14 to 32 and met with men and boys that usually at gay bars, bus stops, or local convenience stores. Jeffrey Dahmer would promise his victims both money as well as other material possessions in order to get them into his house.
I can't believe they wouldn't let me buy beer. I look 21, and they even took my fake ID. What's up? Can't buy no beer? Oh, they won't let me, man. How old are you? 16. What kind you want? Modelo's. Okay, give me a second.
Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was born to a middle-class family in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. At a young age, he was fascinated with death and collected carcasses of dead animals. He was an outcast who drank heavily in high school and began fantasizing about raping men and became aroused by the idea of completely dominating and controlling another person. Just weeks after he graduated high school, Dahmer committed his first murder. His parents were divorced while he was in high school, leaving him all on his own.
Oh, thanks, man. Wait, where you going with my beer? Oh, you want it? You gotta come back to my place.
I don't know, man.
Come on, let's party. Let's party hard.
Alright, yes. It smells so bad in here.
Don't worry about it. It's just me from the other day. You want an RC Cola?
Sure.
Alright, I'll go make it.
Alright.
Thank you.
That's good.
Once back at his house, he would usually offer the boys a drink and spike it. Dahmer used halcyon, a sedative that contains the drug triazolam, to incapacitate his victims. Dahmer was prescribed halcyon, a medication often used to treat insomnia, to treat his sleeping issues from his job at the Milwaukee Ambrosia chocolate factory.
I feel so weird.
Don't worry. We just want to take some pictures.
Jeffrey Dahmer would take Polaroid photos of each of his victims in various stages of their dismemberment. He would do this to relive each of his kills. He is even quoted to have said that the picture would keep him company due to his extreme social isolation.
What's going on? Don't move. Watch the movie.
The rationale for Jeffrey Dahmer's obsession with The Exorcist 3 to the point where he made some of his victims watch the film. According to reports, Dahmer closely associated with the character of the movie's fictional killer, the Gemini Killer. If you do not want to look at human bones in a fridge, avert your eyes from the picture on the right. Jeffrey Dahmer would dissolve the flesh of the body in hydrochloric acid and then keep the bones in the fridge, sometimes even keeping whole heads in his fridge. He would keep them not as trophies, but as companions to him, claiming that he still had relationships with all of them. He would consume most of the victims' organs, mostly their hearts, some of their thighs, and even some biceps. At the end of his spree, Dahmer was sentenced to 15 consecutive life sentences in prison for manslaughter with no chance of parole. Dahmer's arrest in 1991 provoked criticism of local police and resulted in an upsurge of popular interest in serial murder and other crimes involving people of color as well as other minority groups. More than 2 years later, Dahmer was beaten to death by a fellow inmate on November 28, 1994.
What were all those noises coming from your apartment?
Don't worry about it. Go home.
Jeffrey Dahmer was a psychopath being diagnosed with psychotic disorder, borderline personality disorder, and schizotypal disorder. Although he was diagnosed with all of these psychological disorders, he was found legally sane at his trial. Over the course of extensive research, we have learned that Jeffrey Dahmer was a monster that preyed upon the most vulnerable people he could find. He was completely sane and committed these murders knowing exactly what he was doing. Although no one can know for sure, ultimately we believe that Dahmer's serial killer behavior was due to childhood neglect, fascination, and possible born tendencies.